So a couple of months ago we fitted this Rekluse Core EXP clutch to the FE250 Husqvarna project bike, a 2014 model, which we've had put about 20 hours on it and over the past 6 months. So what's the auto clutch? I got to say, you know, there was a bit of a stigma attached to auto clutches for me. To me, they were kind of for old guys who were too senile to pull up the clutch lever when they came to a stop. And I rode one sort of, back in 03, 04, and it had the lever went floppy, just felt horrible. Yes, they disengaged when you came up to a stop and the things didn't stall, but there are a lot of downsides. But I guess Rekluse, an American company, about 4 years ago, they changed their actuating system from a ball bearing, similar to a sort of power valve system, to a sort of small ramps or wedge system, whereby there's an expanding plate in there. So depending on the model, make and model, the componentry differs slightly, but the philosophy or the mechanism is the same, in that there's an expanding clutch in there that ramps up over around sort of 4,000 revs, which actually puts pressure on your clutch plates. So with the Rekluse, which comes in at just under $1,100, it includes everything except the clutch basket, the diaphragm spring in this particular bike, and the fibres. Everything else is replaced. In other words, you get the Rekluse comes with the pressure plate, the inner hub, the steels, obviously the clutch cover there, the expander plate, the EXP plate. Also, which you can't see on the other side of the bike, the slave cylinder. So I've had nothing but positive experience with this thing. I've been really amazed. You can essentially use it as if it's a Pee-wee 50 and getting around with an auto clutch, or you can use it like it's just a normal clutch. And that's the amazing thing about it. Probably from a motocross bike guy's point of view, the take-up is a little more like a cable clutch. It sort of it modulates over a slightly longer distance, and occasionally just sort of feels a bit unusual. But a lot of the time you can actually get around with literally, just trust the fact that you don't have to touch a clutch lever. I mean, I went up a hill today in third gear at just over walking pace, and basically it turns you into the world's best clutch slipper. So, got to be careful, obviously, not to overplay your hand on that front, because you're going to go through clutch plates in a big hurry. But it is incredible on slick grass track, where you can obviously lock the rear wheel, but you can't stall the thing. Just fantastic. Only downside, the lever is a little bit heavier, but certainly not anything like a cable clutch out there at the moment. If you do break a lever off the thing a long way away from your car, and you've got a lot of technical terrain between you and home, then no problem. You can start this thing in gear, no clutch, ride home. It's fantastic. In fact, I rode down here carrying my laptop and started the bike off and took off with one hand. It's amazing. Fitting the thing, look, it comes down to a competency thing. If you're probably confident to do a top-end rebuild on a two-stroke, you could probably do it. There is a very step-by-step instruction, but I'll let the guys at Sutto's do it. Now, they now import Rekluse under the 321 Motorsports banner, and Sutto's Motorcycle Supply is one of the KTM's biggest dealers, who's been in Husserberg up until recently. One of the biggest dealers out in the western outskirts of Sydney. They've been doing it since day dot, so they know the thing inside out. The one key thing, I suppose, is while it remains a hydraulic clutch, retains that same diaphragm spring in there, is that unlike conventional hydraulic clutches, it doesn't auto-adjust for when you have plate wear. So what it means is, every few times when you go for a ride, there's a little system which we'll take you through in a moment to actually indicate what sort of clutch wear there is. And there's a small grub screw effectively in the slave cylinder, which you simply wind in, wind out a certain amount of clicks in order to get the right sort of slack in the lever. So that's really the only sort of downside, is that every few rides you've got to check that. But I've got to say I've been pleasantly surprised is an understatement. This thing has been quite a revelation. I gave it to a couple of pro riders, Damien Smith and Scotty Keegan, that were out at their place today, and they did say it felt a little bit unusual to start with, but I think once they experience it on some of the slick grass track, on some of the really snotty hills, it's really quite a phenomenal piece of technology, and I'm nothing but impressed. So one other thing I guess I didn't warn you about is with this clutch is obviously can't leave it in gear when sitting still, because some smart ass comes up, blips the throttle, and the thing loops out. As I said, doesn't automatically adjust, so what you need to do once you warm the bike up every few times you ride, do this. Now you can use a hand to hold it and just take the slack out of the clutch lever there, or Rekluse create this nice little rubber band. And what you're looking for is about 3 to 4 mil of, I'd say I think 1.5 to 2, but anyway, the guys told me sort of 3 to 4 mil when it gets to 4 grand. So it's actually interesting. You watch as I rev the thing. There it is. See that? As you go as the clutch take up, boom, 4 grand. So 4 mil, not 4 grand. Add 4. let's say that was moving too much. Let's say it was moving about 5 or 8 mil. Here, down on the slave cylinder, what we do, 1, 2, we take a couple of clicks out of there, out of the adjuster on the slave cylinder, come back and we repeat the process. And you saw that was only 1 mil. So effectively what you're doing is taking up, the way I look at it is almost like preload on your push rod going through your clutch. If you don't have that 4 mil, what you'll have is too much, the clutch will be slipping too much of the time and you're going to wear through plates. So getting that adjustment right is critical for this clutch. Other than that, it's a normal clutch. It's kind of not the sort of thing you'd be doing without an auto clutch.